What's up all you Bruce, Tim, Paul, Dini, 11 dudes and dudettes, Toy Shiz here, and I am back yet again to give you guys another McFarlane Toys fresh look. And today we're going to be checking out the brand new Superman, Batman, and Justice League Unlimited action figures based on their classic animated series appearances. Superman looking good, John Stewart from Justice League Unlimited. We'll look at it more in depth. And of course you got Batman, the animated series, good old Batman himself. And of course, like all the other figures in these waves, first wave, I guess you would say, they all look good. They're packed with some accessories. You got a stand, you got a collector card, all that great stuff going on. The packaging does look nice and stellar. And of course, I'll provide all the UPC codes so you can scan them in the store and hopefully find them. Check them out at Target. Target instituted this odd street date, even though the boxes say the 1st. They pushed them to the 19th, probably due to their reset on the shelves, what have you. But we're going to pop all these guys out of their packaging, really look at them in depth. I'm going to show off the articulation. I'm very interested to see how the articulation moves, especially on Green Lantern. I think it would be a little bit more forgiving with Batman and Superman, but Green Lantern has a couple things. You know, he's a Green Lantern. We'll get to it in just a second. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a nice hot cup of coffee. This is the brand new McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse animated Batman, Superman, and John Stewart. When looking at the articulation for this Batman the Animated Series figure, when you do put too much articulation in this more animated style, I feel like the design really does go south. And while this is kind of like, it's like you take Batman the Animated Series and you mixed it with the new Batman the Animated Series. To me, if you look at Bruce Timm's artwork of Batman the Animated Series, this is very much in almost, like, not quite BTAS, but the more stylistic approach that he took and does take to Batman. And while, you know, I would say that, in all honesty, yeah, the chest emblem is a little bit too big for what we're used to with Batman the Animated Series. This is a very, very cool looking Bruce Timm Batman, like pure Bruce Timm looking Batman, like it stepped off his artwork. I have the old Kenner ones, I have the Mattel ones. I pass on the DC Collectibles ones because I'm just a fool. But for having this one now in my collection, I absolutely love the way this guy looks, and I think that in terms of the articulation for him, it's pretty much perfect. The articulation can get a little odd here and there. He does have butterfly joints. I mean, you could put the arms back, you can put them forward, and you do get a nice range of motion for being this more animated style, and for that I could be a little bit more forgiving. He does have an upper diaphragm. He does have a waist. Let's kick up pretty good. He does have these little tiny, you know, Batman underwear, but the belt and the black shorts are all one piece, and it's like a rubbery piece. And I don't mind that as much. I think it lends itself a little bit better as opposed to where the Nightwing figure kind of looks like he has, you know, the diaper thing going on. And I'll show you on the Green Lantern, you can get a nice range of motion out of him. He does have double jointed knees. They work good. He's got the ball rotation and a toe articulation as well. So for being Batman the Animated Series, for being a different type, even the head, you know, you can get a good range of motion to the head. He looks up, looks down. The cape, for those wondering, looks to be removable if you pop the head off. I don't see these heads popping off all too easily, so I'm not going to force it, but I would say that if you put in a little elbow grease, you could probably take the cape off if you wanted to. This, by far, is my favorite one out of the 3 animated. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at the Superman figure. And of course, here is the Superman. And you can't, if you're wanting to pose this guy, if you have been asking for a Superman the Animated Series figure that is fantastic looking in the terms of you can sculpt him like he popped right out of the show, this McFarlane one does achieve it. I think that he looks really good. The first promo pictures made it look like he kind of had like a mullet thing going on, and you know what? I think it just depends on the angle, maybe, and he really doesn't. But again, like the Batman the Animated Series one, this guy, for whatever reason, he has the same exact articulation pretty much, but the butterflies tend to either work against it or they don't really work at all, at least on mine. See, you can pop the shoulder in all the way so it lines up. This side, I cannot seem to get the shoulder to look the same. So this one, he fits right into the joint. This one is still sticking out a little bit. And it's not a huge problem, but it's something that, you know, if you're looking at it, it starts to bug you after a while. The cape has a swoosh to it, and if you got him in that flying pose, it looks cool. But like the Batman the Animated Series one, it goes straight down, and I do prefer that look. And, you know, it's nicely sculpted. Everything looks good. He does look like he stepped right out of Superman the Animated Series, but I'm going to call this guy Superman 64 because I think that this is like the perfect recreation of that. Just everything about that video game. And I'm saying that because the video game was so terrible, but this looks like the art from that. It just reminds me of it. It is Superman the Animated Series, but this one just has that Superman 64 thing going on to me. It was like the first thing that I immediately thought of. He's got small legs, of course, like Batman. The one thing that bugs the absolute heck out of me is he's got a black toe joint pin on a red boot. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh. And then I go, oh my God, they put a black pin in there. Green Lantern also has it. So that is definitely something that bugs me, but same exact articulation. He does have ratcheted joints on the arm, as you can see. And I would say, honestly, after a while, for moving those, I would think that they would become like shaved off and they would lose that integrity. I'm not sure. It just, you know, after rubbing plastic together for quite some time, it does seem like it would do that. Also, I do like the way that these guys scale. I think that they are perfectly matched. I love these two figures. I really do. They have weird little guffaws here and there, especially the black pins. I can forgive it because I do like these characters. I love the shows that they're based on. And to be all honesty, they look more like Bruce Timm's artwork as opposed to Superman the Animated Series, Batman the Animated Series, and spot-on likeness. And then finally, we have the animated figure that a worthy attempt, but he does have his problems, and these are going to be my nitpicky problems because I think the head sculpt is fantastic. I think that looks like Justice League Unlimited. That's just perfect. He's got some great paint going on, great eyes, everything. Like he looks like, hey, you know, Hawk Girl broke his heart, and now he's moved on to Vixen, and he's got a cool goatee and a shaved head going on. So in that sense, I think they nailed it. You can bring the head up a little bit. A lot of the promo pics had it like an awkward pose, but yes, he does fit normally on his head. So he does look good in that sense. The ball joints, I feel like, work against him in this figure because as being a stickler for the animation, see, it has the black and it doesn't match up with the green. In order to match it up with the green, technically, you'd have to go for that. And that doesn't really look correct, you know, like, but again, that's being a stickler. If you absolutely need it to look perfect, I'm just saying. But I would say, you know, it would have been nice maybe to paint green. I know it probably would have gotten some rub action going on, but that's just what I would have liked to have seen. Also, we know, you know, in the cartoon, he does have a flat black costume with the green elements. These sculpted lines add a little bit of texture, add a little something to his costume, but it's not show accurate. I like that he has a sculpted ring. I think that came out really nicely. The joints in the hands, because of the ball joints, they look off. I don't know what it is. It's not terrible, but it's just sort of off. There is little flecks of paint here and there of the green that get caught in the joints. The black sort of underwear diaper thing that goes on looks better on him as opposed to Nightwing's because I feel like just the cut style, this one fits more of the animation style, so you don't notice it. He's got the little tiny legs, but this, again, he's got the black pin for the toe, and I wish that was green. It's so odd, you know, it's an odd choice. The back of the figure looks good, more sculpted lines. I would say he's good in that sense. He looks good, but he's not 100% show accurate in that sense. But let's measure him up. Let's look at him in terms of the height with the other two figures. Now, John Stewart, it does come with the stand and then a couple Green Lantern constructs, namely this really cool, I guess you would say Jack Kirby, Bruce Timm inspired gun that you pull up over his ring-fingered hand, and It looks good. He also comes with kind of like a Dragon Ball Z or Boba Fett looking shield guard, you know, to kind of have him aim, I guess you would say. It looks good. I'll give him that. It looks good. He holds it well. It looks like he's going into battle. So aesthetically wise, I think it looks cool. In terms of knowing about Justice League Unlimited and then Justice League and knowing the character of John Stewart for those shows, he was very more militaristic in the sense that he used straight shots and beams, never really any constructs until pretty much the last episode of Justice League Unlimited. So the accessories to me don't fit. They look good, but I would have preferred to see more beams or maybe like a big protective shield, something like that, because I don't think it fits the character. The same thing kind of goes with the Superman. Superman comes with a bent girder, and then he kind of comes with a couple extra hands. Yes, I've seen it a dozen. Like Kennard was all about the bent girders and things with Superman over the years, and it's cool. It's probably the best bent girder I've ever seen. He's got where he looks like he crushed it with his hand. So I do appreciate that. It's painted well. It looks good, but I would have liked to have seen more Superman the Animated Series accessories, much like the Invader Zim that Palisades did years ago. Very show-specific accessories is what I would like to see. Yes, again, it makes for a great-looking Superman's bending a girder kind of thing, but Superman the Animated Series had very specific things that I would like to have seen over that. I think Batman fares a little bit better with his accessories, couple extra hands. He's got his bat grapple. It's painted well. It's got red on the sides. He holds it well, but in terms of how he holds it, it's not perfect. I almost wish it was almost sculpted in his hand at that point, and you can't remove the actual grapple. That would have been a huge plus. He just holds it awkwardly. He holds his Batarang nice, but it's a little bit too thick. Much like all the Batarangs so far in this Wave 1. They're nice, they're great, they work, but they're too thick. And in terms of the scale, they're all at that 7-inch mark, so they do fit with the other characters so far, but stylistically, they're not going to fit. And, you know, the Batman Who Laughs is a little bit smaller, Nightwing's a little bit taller, but if you have the Spawn animated from Spawn Wave 10, they are definitely going to look good all posed up together. And here's a few Batman from various companies, of course, DC Collectibles and NECA and Mattel. And they're all around the same height, more or less. DC Collectibles a little bit smaller. Here he is with the NECA figures from past year's SDCC and NY Comic Con. And it's funny that the three characters are the same three characters pretty much, although you could swap out Hal. This Batman will fit in the Bat-Raptor. He's a little bit clumsily put in there. He's just a little bit wide, I would say, for the Bat-Raptor. But you can make it work if you really wanted to. Stylistically, though, it doesn't work. This never appeared on the show, so I would say, yeah, that's going to be up to you. But I will say, when you have all the animated series characters all put together like this with the Bat-Raptor, they look good. In terms of how these characters scale, Green Lantern is by far the biggest, the chunkiest kind of one, and he doesn't fit. Batman and Superman, they fit beautifully. World's finest, baby, right there. Fantastic. Even though the art style is a little bit off. But Green Lantern is entirely too big. He's got a bigger chest than Superman. He's got a little bit taller than Superman. I can let it go because it's animated series, and when they're kind of spaced far apart, they do work a lot better. The paint is fairly good on these characters. The articulation is wanting for a few. I'd say it works better on Superman and Batman. Green Lantern, I would have preferred just a little something more to it. And I'm not a big fan of the sculpted lines in his costume, but I'll give him this in the sense of when you have all these characters together, they do look good. So I'm happy with that. I know stylistically that's what they're going for. It's just that I would prefer a little bit more attention to height when it comes to certain characters. So I will say I recommend the Batman and the Superman. The Green Lantern, I'm a little bit on the fence. That's going to be up to you. If you're a huge fan of the animated series like I am, you'll be a little bit more forgiving. But there, you see its little, cracks in the armor here and there, so to speak. But I am curious to know what you guys think. Comment below, let me know. Let's talk everything Bruce Timm Paul Dini animated series. I'm going to leave you guys with that. As always, drink some great coffee, eat some great food, but most importantly, remember, this has to be a thing. Spawn versus Batman. Let's see a awesome 2-pack, or if you have these two figures, hey, you've already got it. And when you do, let me know what you found. I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios.